approaches in solving the oral and dental diseases. You all know fully well that dental plaque is the mother cause for periodontal diseases and dental caries. Periodontal plaque microorganisms are the terrorists which invade in the tissues almost every minute and every minute and every year and goes on accumulating. Our body at times cannot cope up with the insurgents and the battle leads to periodontitis. The history is replete, incidentally, with the chemotherapeutic treatment methodology way back since 1936 with the discovery of sulfanilamide. The golden age of antimicrobial therapy began with the discovery of penicillin way back in 1941 by Alexander Fleming. Several millions of people have been treated with penicillin and its discovery by Alexander Fleming. Antibiotics are chemical substances that are produced by natural metabolites from the species of microorganisms that suppress the growth of other microorganisms and may even destroy them. The synthetic the drugs are derived in the
Hello, hello.
laboratories through dyes and other. I'm getting some disturbances.
माझा वेबिनार चालू आहे नमस्त एक अर्धा तासात करतो प्रेझेंटेशन आहे.
Yeah. Can you do it down, everyone, please, so that I can be able to do my job properly? Thank you very much. Okay. Incidentally, there are various synthetic drugs are derived in laboratory from dyes and other organic compounds, and they are called as antimicrobial agents. There's a difference between antibiotics and antimicrobial agents, and they vary in the scope of the activity. The antimicrobial drugs, they function by inhibiting the cell wall synthesis, the nucleic acid synthesis, the protein synthesis, and then they interfere with the function of the cell membranes, and thereby they can kill the microorganisms. Well, this is the plaque, the dental plaque. You should see that with all these streptococci organisms and staphylococci organisms which are present in the plaque environment, the filamentous organisms here, and then you can see some of these spirochetes, which are also the great dominant situations in the oral cavity, especially in the plaque environment. And you can also notice that these filamentous organisms and the spirochetes, they dominate in the situations like adult periodontitis. And you can see this is a dark field microscopy where you can see the spirochetal organisms which are inhibiting in the adult periodontitis. This is a classic, what's known as the Actinobacillus actinomystum comitans, which is a star-shaped organism which is responsible for juvenile periodontitis. Here is again a culture media. You see how these organisms are. They Prophomonas gingivalis and Actinobacillus mystum comitans. Well, when we give antibiotics, there are hazards also. Especially when we give for young children or young people, it can cause drastic problems like in the form of gray baby syndrome. In the old people, it can cause ototoxicity, and the tetracyclines can cause discoloration and hypoplasia, kernicterus, achlorohydria. It can even cause hemolysis due to G6PD deficiency, and pregnancy can be also associated when situations can occur when you use antibiotics in pregnancy. You'll find the loss occurring in the children, and due to administration in the mother, there can be even fatal necrosis of liver and renal damage. All these situations, we have to be very careful when we are trying to do the treatment with antibiotics. Incidentally, situations can come when there is acquired resistance also because of the antibiotics. You can find there is a change in the genetic composition of the cell undergoing alterations or biochemical changes resulting in resistance. This is, can you please mute down, please? I am getting disturbances. And this type of resistance usually could be assisted by genetic changes and leading to mutation, or there can be a genetic transfer due to chromosomal or extra chromosomal lysosomal variants. And you will notice that various agents are used in the plaque control. It can be in situations like the control of supragingival plaque, which can be associated with antimicrobials, enzymes, antiseptics, herbal extracts, metal ions, oxygenating agents, and surfactants. Similarly, the subgingival plaque control can be achieved by debridement, by local drug delivery, or by local irrigation devices and using case technique. Well, there are different ways by means of which we can use these chemicals, and it could be in the form of oral mouth rinses, oral irrigations, or controlled drug releases by different ways. The most commonest one is the oral mouth rinses. The advantages of using these rinses is to deliver the antimicrobial agents that are higher in concentration and then can be delivered at the local site, and oral rinses are easy to use. The principal disadvantage is it that requires patient compliance, drug pulses, and concentration fluctuation may limit the efficacy. The rinses are also limited to both supragingival and mucosal areas. The oral irrigation, by means of which we can try to use and can deliver high concentration of the drug at the local site. With training and newly available equipment, it is possible to safely irrigate the subgingival area, and the method requires more patient dexterity, patient compliance, and also it produces some fluctuations in the drug concentrations as noted for the oral rinses. Well, there is also a situation where we can use controlled release devices. The controlled release means that delivery of active chemicals to a specific target at a rate and a duration designed to accomplish the intended effect. The advantage of these delivery systems can be reproducible and prolonged constant rate of delivery, and it can be less frequently administered, and the patient has a greater compliance for this particular situations. There is also a side effect of the drug high concentrations that are achieved at the focal site, and there is less patient variability, and that can be situations like that which could be a disadvantage. Now, there are topical plaque reducing agents which can be of great help in reducing the plaque levels. In such a situations, they can be of great use. Incidentally, we have different chemicals which can be used, like quaternary ammonium compounds, which are cationic in nature and can be helpful in reducing the surface tension, absorbing to the negatively charged surfaces, and disrupting the membranes. Studies show that in vitro quaternary ammonium compounds are effective in preventing the growth of plaque bacteria, but it could not be correlated in vivo. Clinical trials have been inconclusive. Recently, CPC, which is called as cetylpyridinium chloride, is an example which its level drops in 12 hours after rinsing. Side effects are ulceration and discomfort. They have a moderate effect as anti-plaque agent. However, today it has been used in the control of COVID-19 also. Recently, Unilever has claimed that its mouthwash will rinse about 99.9% of corona after rinsing. Incidentally, this is again a short-term effect of the CPC drug chemical, which can be used as a mouthwash. The phenolic compounds. The phenols are clinical state which have mixed results. Effects of Listerine like thymol, eucalyptus oil, or methyl salicylate, benzoic acid, and boric acid, which are all termed as essential oils. There is a significant reduction in the plaque gingivitis as compared to placebo. The American Dental Association has recognized Listerine in demonstrating the efficacy in preventing plaque and gingivitis. I'll be talking of this a little later. Sanguinarine, of course, is a chemical which can be used in the herbal way, which can be used in reducing to some extent the plaque levels. Fluorides, of course, today is one of the most popular agents which is used in toothpaste and as well as in mouth rinses, which can be of great help in reducing the prevention of dental caries. which can be made to a value on supragingival plaque control. Incidentally, one of my teachers by name Professor Mohandas Bhatt was the pioneer man in using sodium fluoride mouth rinses at Brazil for reducing the dental caries levels, especially in children below 8 years of age. And he has shown under a project called Project Hope, which was of great significance throughout the world. And fluoride has also an antimicrobial potency to some extent. Peroxides, all those compounds are used, peroxides, sometimes these are used as plaque control, like hydrogen peroxide and all. They offer a therapeutic advantage over conventional foam care controlling mechanism and reducing the plaque gingivitis because of their ability to help in providing the nascent oxygen, which can be of great help. Incidentally, the pre-brushing rinses or pre-treatment mouth rinses, like in the form of plaques or erythrocin red, which can be of great help in identifying the plaque so that we can try to locate the plaque and thereby do the mouth cleaning by brushing and all those things. Well, chlorhexidine has been of great use in various situations like ophthalmic, skin preparations, and in high degree of effectiveness, low toxicity, and when topically applied, it can be used in the form of mouth rinse as 0.2% chlorhexidine, or it can be even diluted little less by 0.12% today, which is available in the form of a chemical called as PerioGard. Now, this particular chlorhexidine has been of a great importance today. It started way back in 19th century by the discovery of Savalon, which was one other form of chlorhexidine, once used in the gynecology and obstetrics way back in England, especially manufactured by the Imperial Chemical Industries. And today we have been using chlorhexidine length and breadth and wide all over the world to reduce this plaque and help in healing process as well. It can be used also in the form of 5% gel, which can be helpful in treatment of your abscess ulceration and all those situations. Well, chlorhexidine has got its action by three ways. It helps in absorption. There is a property of substantivity, and there's also a bactericidal action. Now, as you know, this 0.12% chlorhexidine, which is supposed to be called as PerioGard, is helpful in reducing to some extent the gingival inflammation. And of course, it's available as Peridex by Procter & Gamble and approved in the United States as well in treating gingival bleeding and gingival inflammation. Today, chlorhexidine is also a wonder drug which can be used in COVID-19. There are studies which have shown that when we do the mouth rinses with this particular chemical, you'll find there is disruption of the membrane, the envelope, and that can be helpful in various situations. And the viral load in the oral cavity can be reduced as well as in the saliva. So a lot of studies have come out in this regard, which has been presented. I have little time to tell you about all these things, but definitely chlorhexidine has been of great use today in this COVID-19 situation also. One-time acting mouthwash, of course, of chlorhexidine is not sufficient, but we need mouthwashes that remain attached to the intraoral surfaces for a longer period of time. We need persistent attachment and sustained release into the saliva. That's how the property of absorption, and substantivity comes here. We need the mouthwashes that continue to act even after a person spits them out. So post-rinse action also should be there. Of course, not all the mouth rinses in the world have got this property. Only chlorhexidine has got this property, as I was telling you, substantivity. Povidone iodine and hydrogen peroxide act only as long as they are being in the mouth. Of course, there are different works which have been done, and they have given it in an elaborate manner. And chlorhexidine is retained in a longer period of time, especially in studies which have been shown in South Korea way back in February 2020. Okay, I will skip out a little faster so that I can give time for yours. It can be used also in operation theaters as well, to have infection control and operating room management as well. It can be also used in the form of an evidence-based approach for optimizing the infection control as well. And of course, there are some side effects of this particular chemical. If they are used consistently, it causes staining of the teeth, the tongue, the anterior restorations in about 15% of patients. Some individuals may show slight increase the supragingival calculus level, especially on the lingual surface of mandibular anteriors. Thus, the calculus appears to have different composition from routine calculus deposits and is easily removed and appears to have no harmful effects. There is a little amount of change in the taste perception also. Dysgeusia can also be there in patients who are using this particular agent chlorhexidine. Well, antibiotics like amoxicillin has been of great use in the world, along with clavulanic acid, which we call it as augmentin, and also along with metronidazole, it can be of great help in the treatment of refractory periodontitis. In some studies, patients not responsive to tetracycline and clindamycin or metronidazole can be given a combination of amoxicillin and clavulanic acid along with metronidazole, which can be of great help. So it can affect in the both gram-positive as well as gram-negative pathogenic organisms, and that can be of great help. Tetracyclines, of course, have been of great use. The wonder drug tetracycline from Pfizer was of great use because the tetracycline is secreted in the GCF also to a level of about 5 to 7 times than compared to the serum. So because the property of tetracycline being secreted excreted in the GCF, this particular drug has been of great use in reducing the collagen breakdown to a larger extent and thereby strengthen the host resistance by inhibiting the damage due to the reduction in the collagenase level. This drug is effective in juvenile periodontitis, rapidly progressing periodontitis, and also in some refractory periodontitis, according to Corman et al., and evaluated the effect of tetracycline after administration up to 7 years in 20 patients who were refractory to conventional periodontal treatment. This is the shop where, of course, a display in a symposium or in a conference where doxycycline, which is doxycycline hyclate, which was postered in the conference. Of course, there are different forms of tetracyclines which are available in the market. Acticite is also one of them. Tetracycline loaded with ethylene valine acetate or EVA fibers, which can be soaked in tetracycline and can be placed in the local drug delivery form. And that can be of great use because it can sustain tetracycline concentrations by control releasing so that you can have it for a longer period of time to combat against these pathogenic organisms. And Human, of course, used Acticite as an adjunct to root planing and cleaning as well. Now, doxycycline, as I was just now telling you, is of great use. In fact, doxycycline is available in two forms, what's known as doxycycline hyclate and doxycycline hydrochloride. What we are interested is in doxycycline hyclate, which is available in the form of Actidox, or is also available in another form also. Actidox is manufactured by Actris Laboratories from US, and they can be available in the form of 10% in the syringe form, and it is a great help in reducing the subgingival flora to a larger extent. And there's a good amount of release of 420 micrograms, which can be per ml. And there's a longest study which has been done by Garrett way back in 1997 for a period of 9 months. And of course, there is some amount of disturbances also, side effects like gastrointestinal disturbances, photosensitivity, kidney or liver dysfunction, which can also take place. However, this can be used in a smaller quantity, and that can be of great help. In fact, Doxycycline has been of use also along with some extent minocycline also. And there is a good amount of compliance in that situations. Now, what we mean by host modulation? New approach to enhancing the conventional treatment of periodontitis involves administration of, as I was telling you, host response modulating drugs to block the destructive aspects of immune response. When there is inflammatory exchange that taking place, you will find that there's production of collagenase enzyme. And this collagenase enzyme is supposed to be harmful in nature, which can cause the destruction of the collagen. And damage to the collagen can induce a greater amount of tendency for the infection to progress. So our idea is to modulate that process of damage and improve the host resistance so that we can reduce the damage that can taking place upon the collagen. So their anti-collagenollytic property, which was very well discovered way back by an Indian, to be honest, by a person by name Ramachandran, and he was supposed to be of he was supposed to be of great help. Just I'll try to go back to the same situation. Just hold on. There was some problem. Can you see this, please? Hello? Hello? Hello?
No, sir.
Can you not see this now?
No, sir.
Just a minute. I'll just try to put it up. Now, can you see it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll just make it better now. So I was talking to you about the anti-collagenollytic property of doxycycline, which was very well discovered by, of course, an Indian by name Ramachandran. And today it has been of great use to provide, the sub antimicrobial dose of the doxycycline, which can be used in the form of Periostat, which is supposed to be a drug which is available in US in the form of 20 milligrams or 40 milligrams tablet. You can use it as 20 milligrams twice a day, and that will be helpful to reduce the microbial flora to a larger extent and can bring about a good protection against the refractory or recurrent disease. Of course, this is of great help. Incidentally, metronidazole also could be of great use today in the management of anaerobic bacteria. Of course, metronidazole was manufactured by May and Baker, incidentally, as in the form of a drug called Flagyl, which was used for the treatment of amoebic dysentery. But today, you will find metronidazole is of great use today in the oral health also, because it can be used in treatment against the spirochetal organisms as well as in treatment of gram-negative microorganisms as well. Well, of course, they have got a side effect which is metallic taste sensation. There's amount of headache and peripheral neuritis can take place. And of course, it has got interaction with alcohol so severe that the alcohol is prohibited when taking metronidazole should be done. Clindamycin, of course, is of another use, which can be of great use today. Of course, clindamycin is not available in India, but definitely it can be used in other countries. Also, it has been used for treatment of refractory periodontitis, where in the form of, along with the tetracycline too. Now, local drug delivery can be done in the form of strips or gel or polymers or microspheres. Of course, these are some examples where periochip is being placed containing chlorhexidine. This is again a situation where dentomycin drug which can be used in the form of the pockets, the non-surgical approach. You can also see there's a placement of metronidazole, which in the form of sponge in the pocket environment. You can also see elizole, which can be placed in the pocket environment, okay, so that you can reduce the pocket theft to a larger extent. Of course, these are different types of drug deliveries which can be used for treatment, okay, in the prevention and maintenance programs. There are, of course, gels, rinses, then dentifrices, chewing gums, varnishes, are all the different ways by means of which we can try to combat these microorganisms to a larger extent. Of course, the conclusion drawn from these various studies are the chemical methods of plaque control may be justified as a means of overcoming the inadequacies of mechanical cleansing. Let me tell you, mechanical method of oral mouth cleansing or brushing can only reduce about 45% of the plaque, not definitely the entire way can do it. So at the same time, along with the mechanical methods, the chemical methods also has to be used so that we can reduce the amount of microflora in the oral cavity so that we can try to have a better approach. You know, most agents in the form of mouthwash can be used alone without normal tooth cleansing. Of course, exert some plaque reduction, but definitely you have to use it along with the mechanical methods also. Most agents in the oral cavity in the form of mouthwash can be used. They do not provide adjunctive effects in the plaque control and gingival health when used along with the side toothbrushing with the toothpaste. Of course, there was a situation where people used the toothbrushes and toothpaste, which was to a larger extent effective, but definitely it's not complete. No, the effective of the mouth rinse are those containing chlorhexidine. The evidence is derived largely from 0.2 to 0.12% insects, of course. The local side effects, as I was telling you, staining and all those things which I have already dealt in the form. Well, mouth rinses, along with the tooth cleaning method, provide benefits to gingival health, according to ADDIE in 1992. Such benefits extend to a large extent for a period of 6 months or more, when they are tried with chlorhexidine products. Lang and Rex have shown the study. And there are also different ways by means of which we can tell. Of course, Listerine today is also one of the popular anti-plaque agent or mouth rinses which can be used. It has been a history for about 125 years. Started as an aid in the wound healing as an antiseptic. Of course, clinically it was proven to kill germs that cause plaque and gingivitis. And most studies have shown as a form of mouthwash in literature. Continued efficacy and safe testing is also provided, and it is one of the recognized agents by the Dental Association all over the world. Now, Listerine is proven to be the best today, as supposed to be, and supposed to be reducing plaque microorganisms. Reduces the plaque 6 times compared to the brush alone, and reduces interdental proximal plaque just in 30 seconds of mouth rinses given every day. If it is, it will be useful. Listerine, as you know, is proven to be a 99.9% protection against microbes, as they say, and prevents and treats gingivitis. And there's about 56% of plaque level reduction when compared to the brushing alone. And of course, I will not talk much on all these things. It was way back in different forms, this particular agent has been used. It was used way back in 1920, 1940 for sore throat. Even people used it to protect against scalp and hair fall as a skin care, as well as in the wound care, and also in the prevention of halitosis. Of course, an alcoholic mouth rinse, of course, to a larger extent. Accepted by the Council on Scientific Affairs of ADA as effective anti-plaque, anti-gingivitis chemotherapeutic agent when adjunctively used in oral hygiene regimen. Well, to a larger extent, a simple addition to a daily routine for a significantly better results can be done by use of Listerine. Has been proven effective and safe, and as I told you, it kills the microorganisms of plaque and helps in improving the gingivitis, and it is safe for long-term use also. Well, there are different studies which have been done. I will not go into details about all these things. And of course, today it is, though Listerine has been developed in 1870, it has got a long history. This was discovered by Joseph Lister, developed in carbolic acid, which was used as antiseptic in surgery. It was Joseph Lawrence and John Dunn Lambert. He developed the antiseptic formula, safe to use on delicate tissues on the mouth. And finally, it was named Listerine after Dr. Lister's original research. And of course, it's available most of the places. Today, this is combined with several agents like thymol, eucalyptus oil, methyl salicylate, and menthol, and they are all described under a term called essential oils. And of course, today oral health is very much essential, and especially in the situation like COVID-19, when the world is being affected very badly, and you will notice that people are dying. So we need definitely some sort of a protection against the multiplication of these viruses and bacteria, which harm the individual in the oral cavity and throughout the body as well. So the tryst of destiny with the drugs for successful periodontal therapy has been ever envisaged. The limitations, duration of the therapy, microorganisms application, drug resistance, and side effects are all the tumbling blocks. So our trial has been going on as a nightmare, and we are still not in the out of the woods. We are still trying to search for something very useful, which can be of great help to make sure that our health is better, and we will try to have the longevity of the teeth in the mouth, and at the same time protect the person from the invisible harmful effects of these microorganisms, the various part of the body. Thank you very much. This is a picture from the American Academy of Periodontology, taken with Professor P.D. Miller. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gururaj Rao. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Are there any questions, anyone? Dr. Gururaj Rao, can you please drop your email in the chat session so that if anyone has any questions, they can reach out to you?
Yeah, I am on the chart. Let me see. I would like to see if there are any questions. I don't know. I'm not very sure. I'm trying to search. I don't think there is any questions in this. Can you see anything here? Any idea?
No questions, doctor.
Okay, ma'am.
Please drop your mail ID in the chat session.
Yeah, I will put my email ID also. Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to the next presentation. I now call upon Dr. Santosh to give his presentation.
Yeah, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. Should I start?
Yes, doctor, you can start your presentation.
Everyone is seeing my screen?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So good evening. I am Dr. Santosh Jadhav. I am from Pune and I am practicing in Pune since last 18 years, as well as I am also practicing and working in Bharati Vidyapeeth, University, Pune. I'm just talking brief about the current scenario of Indian dental practice in COVID-19 pandemic in India. So everybody know about the coronavirus and the COVID because in 18th November only we just witnessed the 1 year of the COVID-19 first case which was diagnosed in the China. So if you see the what is the COVID and how what is the structure of the COVID virus and everything, everybody knows. I am not going much more detail about it. Mode of the transmission is everybody knows because as usual the 1 year is already completed for the COVID infections, not for India but in China also. So it's basically spreads through the droplets, to the aerosols, to the contacts, and mostly through the saliva and other possible routes through fecal routes also. But mostly through the droplets like secretions which are coming from the coughing and the sneezing and which is landing on the mucosal surfaces like nose, mouth, and the eyes. The incubation period, everybody knows about the incubation period because we are always talking about the incubation period for the COVID viruses. It's like 2 days to the 14 days because the 14 days quarantine period is much more common in India if you get in touch with the any COVID-19 positive patients. The incubation period is the time between the exposure to virus and the onset of the system, and it usually about the 2 to 14 days after the exposure. The CDC, that's the control of disease, indicates that the people are most contagious when they are the most symptomatic, when they have showing the most of the symptoms of the COVID-19. Several studies also shows that the people may be most contagious before developing the symptoms also. The exact nature is not known. There is evolving, the every day it's changing. Symptoms, everybody knows the symptoms of the COVID-19 patients like fever, cough, shortness of breath, loss of taste and smells. And day by day, there are some other symptoms may also get included, like diarrhea is there, loss of taste and loss of smell, nasal congestion. If you consider about the COVID-19 patients, there are some patients, all the individuals which are high risk catching the infection of COVID-19. And these are mostly, if you consider the people like the old age people, mostly those age which have above 55 years of the age, and along with they have carrying some kind of a comorbidity along, like heart diseases, lung diseases such as asthma, diabetes, suppressed immune systems, like the patients those who are suffering from any kind of malignancies, or those patients also taking some kind of drugs like chemotherapeutic drugs or the radiation therapy also. The elder patients have a higher rate of severe illness from COVID-19. The children and the young adults usually shows a severe illness and the death protocol, death also. Because of COVID-19 is new, there are a lot of scientific unknowns, such as the impact on the pregnant woman and their fetuses. The treatment and the vaccines, it's just a part, like there are many vaccines which are in the line in a queue to come into the market, but mostly in the 2021, when it comes, that is a good thing actually. But yet now there are no any vaccines in the India. The treatment is mostly the supportive treatment as the everyone is treating the patients when the patient is getting same like a viral infection. The people who are mildly ill with the COVID-19 should be isolated at home during their illnesses. So at now there are no as a specific treatment, but in future there is definitely vaccines are coming because there are a lot of researchers going on to the vaccines, and in the coming years mostly we all make it a COVID-19 vaccine. As the prognosis, if you consider about the COVID-19 infections, as many experts says that it remain active for quite some time. The WHO is also saying the same thing, like the COVID-19 virus is remain active for more than sometimes. But the actual thing is that we should change our lifestyle. That is that we should live a life with the COVID-19 virus. That is the current scenario in the India. The social distancing, hand hygiene, use of mask is the part of a life. Like when we are trying to go out, because the lockdown is over here, everybody is going out for their work, for their duties, for their anything, for the market or anything. So they are carrying their masks along with that. So the lifestyle is become going to be changed because each and every individual is knowing that they have to live with this COVID-19 virus. The precaution and the prevention is also more important things. That is the one key to get should not get infected from the COVID-19 viruses because of the continuous. I say that bombarding from the government side, from the social side, or from the social media through the webinars or from the advice from the experts. Everybody knows that they have to follow the hand hygiene. That is a much more important thing. The respiratory hygiene when they are cough, sneeze, how to follow the respiratory hygiene. The social distancing, it's one of the important thing. At least keeping a 6 feet distance from each others, and the high risk group individuals like those individuals which have a comorbidity diseases and those individuals which are above 55 years or 60 years age groups, although mostly the older age group individuals and those who have a low immunity. So these are the major keys to prevent get infected from the COVID-19 infection. Mode of transmission, everybody know how is it transmit, because if when you sneeze, cough, it get transmitted through the droplets, it stick onto the hands. When you shake your hands to any person, the viruses get transmitted. So, so you should know that the basically etiquettes regarding the sneezing or the respiratory droplets etiquettes. Hand hygiene, what you should actually do when you're doing the hand hygiene. Everybody knows, wash your hands often with the soap and the water at least for 50 seconds, and especially after you have been in a public place or after blowing your nose, coughing or sneezing. Use a hand sanitizer. At least it should contain 70% of alcohol. That is a mandatory. And it's all available. It should be available. Cover all surfaces of your hands and rub them together until they feel dry. What you should not do, that is the most much more important thing. If you try to prevent or should not get a catch with the COVID-19 infection, like do not touch your eyes, nose and mouth and unwashed hands. So these are the basic things that each and every individual should know, and I think that everybody is following this basically. Precaution and prevention also importantly, one of the things we should follow in our day-to-day life is that avoid shaking hands before when you go anywhere out and when you're meeting a new people. We're trying to shaking our hands with each others. That is the main thing. Hi, hello is the important thing. When you're doing, well, just shake your hands. But now after the COVID-19 is coming, this virus is spreading after touching the surfaces. So we should avoid shaking hands and follow the cultural tradition things which are following in India. That is mostly a namaste. Say at least keeping some kind of social distancing, and we should do a namaste to each others. That is the most important thing we should follow in our social life. Mask gives a reduced risk of infection. These are the some common things everybody should know and follow regarding the mask also. Because if you see in the diagram, the how the probability of contagious or how the virus can get transmitted from the one person to the another person when you are not using the virus. When you have used the mask, the probability of the transmission of the virus is usually less. When you are not using it, the chances of infection from transmitting from the one person to the another person is also usually less. Like COVID-19 carrier, if he is using the mask, it's the chances of transmission the infection to the other person is automatically get decreased. Precaution and the prevention of the respiratory hygiene, the cough etiquettes are also important. Wear the mask times all the outside the home. Turn head away from the people when you are coughing. Use tissue paper while coughing and dispose the paper appropriately. If you do not have anything coughiness leaves, do hand hygiene after coughing or sneezing. That is the most more important thing. When you cough or sneeze, at least try to do hand hygiene immediately. Like if you use any sanitizer, apply onto the hand, or you should wash your hands with the proper soap. High risk individuals, older individuals, patients with heart disease, diabetes, lung disease, kidney disease, or cancer or medication disease, pregnant women. These are the people, those who are easily get catch with the COVID-19 infection if they have any comorbid condition. So what is the important thing? Like how does the virus survive on the surface? There are several studies are carried out. All the literature says that the COVID-19 virus can survive 72 hours on the plastic or the stainless steel surfaces, less than 4 hours on the copper, or less than 24 hours on the cardboard. what are the scenario if you consider about the scenarios in the public, like being vicinity of the someone with a 6 feet distance, the low risk is there. The limit, if you see, that is the less than 45 minutes. If you sitting together with any person at least for 6 feet distance, more up to this 45 minutes, the transmission of the infection is usually less. These are the newer guidelines which are given by the CDC. Taking to someone face to face when you're talking with the someone, low risk is there when you're using the mask. Some is facing a walking job like when they are through you, low risk is the well ventilated spaces with the distancing usually a low risk. So the government is also advised, or the CDC guidelines also advise that you should always sit into the well ventilated spaces, or when you are sitting into the home, to open your windows and avoid using the use of air conditions. The grocery shopping media is there because if you follow the proper cues along with some social distancing, maintain 6 feet distance, the chance of infection is usually less. Indoor spaces, high risk is there definitely. The public areas, high risk because there is more chances of generation of fomites. Restaurants, usually a high risk is there because the people are sitting together, they are laughing, eating, and they are not using the mask because they are trying to use they're trying to actually follow the eating process. So there may be a chances of infection is quite high. Workplace like schools, parties, weddings, very high risk is there. Cinema, movie theater, again usually the risk is quite high. So what exactly we should follow if you're trying to maintain your personal health care is that eat and sleep well, hydrate well, increase protein diets, fruits. Don't share your water bottles or tiffins. That is one of the more important thing. Rest, avoid alcohol, tobacco, smoking, and under any circumstances, pranayam, do meditations, avoid unnecessary traveling. If you got symptoms like flu, sore throat, dry cough, or the symptoms which are COVID-19 symptoms, you should get checked yourself with the RT-PCR test or the antigen test. Mental health and stress, you should always use your smartphone to stay connected with the family or the friends because it may carry a lot of anxiety to the patients also or their families also. So you should try to avoid the mental health and the stress. These are one of the important app which is developed by a central government of India, that is Arogya Setu app, and I think everybody is carrying this app in their smartphones because these are very helpful for us. It will give information regarding all the COVID-19 patients and updated regarding the nearby hospitals also, or we should always use this app along with the Bluetooth and on your smartphone's locations. So it will give information regarding the COVID-19 patients, whether you are coming in the contact with the COVID-19 patients any vicinities. That is a much more important thing. This app is also helpful in India when you try and travel through the railways or when you're traveling through the airport also. These are the personal protective equipment. That is a PPE kit. That's I'm a dentist. I'm working in the clinics. These are very, very important thing for us. Like we all the dentists, when you're working, we are directly coming in contact with the saliva. So the patient is trying to remove his mask, and when you're trying to do any dental procedures, it may try to generate a aerosol. Mostly when you are trying to do any kind of root canal treatment, or when you do any kind of fillings, when you try to use air rotors or do the impaction like procedures or scaling like procedures. So there is a definitely chances of generation of an aerosol is there. So get prevented from these aerosols. There is a need of full PPE kit is always advisable. Because as a dentist, I'm thinking we are the persons which have a very high risk to get a catch up with this COVID-19 infection. So these are some sequences where we should do how to do a donning and the doffing, and these are the very much important sequence because each and every dentist, when they are treating the patients, when using the PPE kit, they should know the sequence of donning and the doffing because it will help them to get prevent from the COVID-19 infection. So the current scenario, if you see in the India, the 30th Jan 20 in India, they are mostly diagnosed the first case of COVID-19. The day by day, as a spike in the number of cases are going to be increased. The 23rd March 20 to almost 20 July, we have under the lockdown. Means everything is get closed. So all the dental clinics, dental institutions, private clinics was closed around 4 to 5 months, according to the my knowledge. Mostly, the Dental Council of India has also issued guidelines to carry out only emergency elective dental treatment during this periods, because the viral infection is new and everybody is under the threat that the how to tackle with this pandemic. So there are huge impact of this COVID-19 infections onto the dental practice, because the dentist is the one, the person which are dealing with the patient's mouth, where we can get or easily get uh, the infection which is get transferred from the patient to the dentist. So there are certain guidelines the dentist should follow in their clinics also. So the majority of structural changes we can follow in the dental practice. When the before pre-COVID area, we are doing the around the 10 to 8 to 10 patients or the 15 patients in a day to carry out all the procedures. But after the COVID-19, when it comes, so that there are drastic structural changes in the dental practices comes, because when you're treating the patients, like the patients, those who are asymptomatic patients, also we should consider these patients as a COVID-19 patients, or we think that these patients may have carrying the infections. So there are majority of structural changes in the dental practices, like the procedures which we are carried out in the dental clinics, mostly the procedures which involves to produce the aerosols. So these aerosols mostly have a high chances to get infected the dentist and the dental assistants also. So the sanitization protocol and the sterilization protocol is totally changed. We need a consent form, different consent form for the COVID-19 patients. Sanitization protocol is also changed, and the operating system protocol is also totally changed. Because before treating the patients, there are certain protocols, like I think most of the dental clinics are following. Each and every dentist following the WHO guidelines, CDC guidelines, and these all are the guidelines they are carrying through the online webinars also, or they are getting much more important information through this online webinar also. Now the important thing for the dentist is also the best disposal protocols, because as the COVID-19 which is affecting the dental practices, the each and every dentist are trying to use PPE kits, and disposable PPE kits are there, the gloves are there, the face shields are there. So, and along with the dentists, their assistants are also using this PPE kits and the disposable gloves, masks, the disposable aprons, and shoe covers. So all these are the waste which are generated in the dental clinics are quite huge. And for the disposal of this waste is also important, because if you are not disposing this waste properly, there may be a chance that the patients as well as the doctor dentist also may get infection through this waste. Along with this PPE kits like thermometer gun and the pulse oximeter, these are the two important things I think most of all the dentists are using in their clinics to check the temperature of the patients as well as the oxygen levels of the patients. These are the common armamentarium there in each and every dental clinics, I think. So along with the dentist, not only the dentist, along with their dental staffs, the dental assistants, the person who are working outside the dental operatory, those who are helping the dentist, they also know about the proper waste disposal protocols, or the patients handling the procedures, like when the patients are coming first time, how to tackle with these patients, how to check the patient's thermometer or thermometer gun, how to use and check the patient's temperature, how to take a pulse oximeter and record the pulse oximeter of the patients, take the proper history of the patients, whether patients have any symptoms of COVID-19, whether the patient's relatives have any suffering from in the COVID-19, the 7 to 8 days back, you have any symptoms about in that patient is taking any kind of drugs related with that. So all these informations will take a lot of time to the dentist to carry out the patient's detailed medical history. So what I feel that the in the day, what are the pre-COVID area when the dentists are doing the patients like more than 10 patients, I think the number of patients in the dental clinics when they are applying the proper sanitization protocol, waste disposal protocol, the detailed case history protocol, So all the time which is required for the one patient is quite high, because if you do the one patients and if you're trying to do a second patients, at least required a lot of time to do follow a proper sanitation protocol, sterilization protocol, as well as the waste disposal protocol. The financial and the economical burden on every each and every dentist is there. That is the most important thing which are happening after the lockdown. I think there are 4 to 5 months all the dental clinics are shut down. So the most of the dentists, those who have dental clinics on the rent, they are facing their huge financial burdens. Or those who are carrying the EMI or loan of the banks, they have also huge financial burdens. Lab dues, they are also carrying a huge financial and economical burdens. Assistant salaries there, other dues are like electricity and the phone bills are there. So all these the factors, due to the lockdown, the clinics are shut down. Um, the financial and the economical burden are there on each and every dentist. Along with that, I want to add a one more important thing, that after the COVID comes, the dentist, those who are practicing in their clinics, they have carrying a lot of newer things also. Some are carrying the air purifiers, some are carrying the PPE kits. The number of gloves they are buying is quite high. The number of masks, which is quite high. The sanitization protocols and the sterilization protocols. So all are going to be changed. So the investments of the dentist for each and every patient is going to be increased. So the effective the cost of treating the patients and whatever the burdens are there onto the dentist is also increased. So the financial and the economical burden onto the dentist is definitely increased after the COVID-19 pandemic. Hike in the dental charges are there are definitely a hike in the dental charges like 15 to 20%, because if you carried out a dental treatment in a proper sanitization and the sterilization protocol, you have to increase your rate. It's depend on to the dentist to dentist, but according to the my suggestion, you have to increase the rates, because you have taken a lot of risk. Along with that, you are investing so much money onto the sanitation and the sterilization protocols as well. Due to SOP standard operating procedure of sanitization protocols, sterilization protocol, and the waste disposal protocols. The mode of payment system in the dental clinics are also going to be changed, because the patients are also knowing about the COVID-19 situations. So when they are coming to the dental clinic, most of the, according to my experience, the most of the people, they are getting afraid to do a dental treatment basically, because they are also have some kind of fear in their mind to do dental treatment. But now the situation is a little bit improving. The people are knowing about the dentists are taking care of all the situations of the COVID-19 and following the proper sterilization and the sanitization protocols. So they, before coming, they have a take an appointment from the phones, and most of the patients are giving the information about their medical history also properly. Uh, so it will definitely reduce the time of a dentist to carry out their procedures into the dental clinics. One of the important thing is that most of the dentists are following the use of digital payment system also there. That is the most important thing, because it also decrease the time contacts with the patients, as well as it also helps the dentist to carry out a contactless payment systems like mobile wallets, credit card, debit card, or UPI apps. So it will definitely help the dentist. So these are the my in the final conclusion. I'm saying something like that. After the COVID-19, the total practice procedures, if you consider for the dental clinics, mostly in the private dental clinics, are totally changed. Because the dentists are under a huge financial burden. That is one of the more important things, because the COVID-19 situation is, we don't know the how much time we are carrying these situations, because now in India the patients are quite less like I am in the sitting in the city. There is a lot of patients are there of the COVID-19 patients. But now in the October or the November, there are slightly decrease in the graph of Pune city. But after the Diwali as a festival, there are little bit increase in the cases of the COVID-19. So there is one of the fear in the each and every dentist. that how much the time the COVID-19 will be remain and the impact is there onto their dental practice. Because carrying out the dental procedures is like we are carrying a lot of chances of carrying a lot of risk. Along with we are carrying or following a lot of protocols to do to give a better good dental treatment to each and every patients. So according to the me, that when the vaccine comes or after the vaccine comes, and we all are aware that the effect of these vaccines, then and then only what I feel that the dental practice or the dental fraternity will come up with the one of the good solutions to come into a situation like pre-COVID age. That is my opinion. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santosh. It was very informative presentation and hope everyone are following these preventive measures to combat the COVID-19 situation in the country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Dr. Santosh, can you please drop your email ID in the chat session?
Yeah, I will drop it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to the next presentation. I now call upon Dr. Mahmood to give his presentation.
Hello everyone, can you hear me well now?
Yes, doctor, we can hear you. Can you please share your presentation?
Yeah, sure. Can you see now? Can you see now?
Yes, doctor, we can see the presentation.
Okay. So,
you can start your presentation.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about the effect of mechanical instrumentation on dentine surface. This is a very important topic because a lot of us as an endodontist or GPs actually do not actually know what we are doing, how we are harming the dentine of the root canal while instrumentation. So we're going to have a spotlight on the effect of mechanical instrumentation on dentine surface today. So what lies beneath mechanical instrumentation? Our talk will be evidence-based. Dentine is a mineralized vital part. As we can see, this is a tubular structure of dentine. We can see that the mechanics and physiology of dentine, we can see covers all the time with smear layer. Okay. So some data about the dentine are the first to summarize in the dental or root canal. The dentine composition is 50% volume non-crystalline calcium hydroxide, 30% volume collagen, and 10% water. Okay. So actually, the following different situations can be found inside the root canal. While instrumenting the root canal, we can find a prepared irrigated dentine surface in some areas, and prepared irrigated medicated surfaces in other areas, unprepared but irrigated dentine surface, unprepared but irrigated and medicated dentine surface, unprepared, not irrigated, not medicated surfaces. So those are the areas that can be found inside the root canal during mechanical instrumentation. Here we can see the difference between prepared and unprepared dentine surfaces. The picture on the left is completely covered with smear layer. However, the picture of the right is completely, we removed the smear layer, and as we can see, the dentinal tubules and predentine with calcosperities can be found with no pulpal debris. So the following issues can be addressed concerning the effect of mechanical preparation of root canal: dentine surface and smear layer, uninstrumented versus instrumented surfaces, surface roughness, preparation marks, alteration of root strength, iatrogenic damage, temperature changes, discoloration, and dentinal defects and microcracks. And this is the most important one, and this is the most important issue regarding the microcracks we're going to talk about. Okay, so as you can see, this is an unprepared root canal surface. Okay, after passive ultrasonic irrigation, we can see. So smear layer covering the dentine surface is always found. However, we are using some solutions like Edita to remove the smear layer. The smear layer is a surface film of debris retained on the dentine surface after instrumentation, and we have to remove it because we need the patent dentinal tubules for proper entrance of the irrigation into the dentinal tubules, as we can all know that bacteria can be present in the dentinal tubule up to 30 microns inside the dentinal tubule. So the thickness of smear layer has been reported to be 1 to 5 microns, and it can extend into dentinal as far as 4 microns. And this smear layer can decrease the permeability and bond strength to adhesives and sealers. Also, the smear layer is covering the dentinal tubules, and bacteria, as we all know, that it's extending inside the dentinal tubule. So we need to remove the smear layer to properly. So prepared versus unprepared layer. So according to literature, according to our nowadays, we're talking about whatever the instrument you're using, whatever the file you're using, whatever the size of the file you're using, whatever the taper of the file you're using, you will find that about 30 to 40% of the root canal surface remain untouched by the instrument, whatever the instrument you're using. So after mechanical preparation, we have 30 to 40% of the root canal surface remains untouched. And this is a big problem because now we know that 30 to 40% of the root canal surface contains smear layer, contains bacteria, contains everything. It's not even touched by the instrument. And we are relying on the irrigation to solve this issue. This is the root canal dentine following preparation with SAF, self-adjusting file, which is very popular nowadays. However, it's not used anymore because of some discrepancies in the metal making. Also, we can find after mechanical preparation some preparation marks on the root canal surface, as we can see pictures showing dentine marks. Also, iatrogenic damage of the root dentine, like transportations or straightening. Ledges also can be done during mechanical preparation. Discoloration can be done if we leave, in case we leave some vital pulp tissues in the root canal, so it will result in some discoloration. Insufficient preparation or excessive dentine removal can also cause discoloration of the tooth, as we can see, incomplete pulp horn removal. So the most important part in our presentation today is dentinal defects and microcracks. So cracks can be divided into 3 main parts: incomplete cracks, and complete cracks and crease lines. Complete cracks are lines extending from one surface to another. Incomplete, they are not reaching the outer surface. However, crease lines are just not reaching any surface, but it's on the outer surface of the root dentine. Okay, this is some examples of the cracks and microcracks we can find in the root canal dentine after mechanical preparation. So according to literature, dentinal microcrack formation during root canal preparation by definite night eye rotary instrument and SAF self-adjusting file, we can find the conclusion: all rotary files created microcracks in the root dentine. However, SAF and hand instruments, no dentinal microcracks. So whatever the file you're using, rotary night eye file with greater taper than the manual file, it will result in some sort of dentinal microcrack. Here the arrow showing, if you follow the arrows, you can find that all the dentinal microcracks are found in the root following mechanical preparation. However, in hand instruments, it's the least. Control and hand instruments are the least, and all other rotary night eye files producing microcracks except the self-adjusting file. Because slices showing dentinal cracks Another paper talking about evaluation of dentinal defects formation after root canal preparation with two reciprocating systems and enhancement. So horizontal sections were made 369 millimeters from the apex, and under stereo microscope, it was found that no defects were observed in the unprepared groups as usual. However, all instruments caused dentinal defects with no significant difference between them. This shows that any file you are using, either in rotation or reciprocation motion, will result in micro cracks. Here, no defects at 3 millimeter, partial crack. As you can see, it's very small. Then in picture C, raised lines, and in picture D, we can find a complete fracture at 3 millimeter, as we can see stained by methylene blue. Another paper talking about the effect of different nickel titanium instruments on the dentinal microcrack formation during root canal preparation. Again, as a conclusion, except the hand files, all experimental groups show microcrack formation. So it's whatever the file you're gonna reach, you're gonna do some microcrack formation. Again, those photos showing the microcrack formations and raised lines after mechanical preparation. Comparative evaluation of root microcracks by different rotary and reciprocating endodontic file system. As a conclusion, all instrumentation systems used in this study created microcracks in root dentine. Okay. Lack of causal relationship between dentinal microcracks and root canal preparation with the reciprocation system. No causal relationship between dentinal microcrack and canal preparation with in a reciprocation motion, or wave one in a reciprocation motion and bibrate. So whatever the file, whatever the motion, whatever the kinematics of the file you're using, you will have some sort of microcracks after root canal preparation. Here a micro CT showing before and after preparation. This paper was very popular, and it showed that some microcracks were already found before canal preparation or before mechanical preparation. However, these cracks increased after the mechanical preparation. Okay, it was starting in increased lines or incomplete cracks. However, it reached to the two surfaces, so it's called a complete crack. Micro CT assessment of effective ProTaper Next and Twisted File adaptive systems on the dentinal cracks. Also, ProTaper Next and Twisted File system did not induce the formation of new dentinal microcracks, because this paper talking about those microcracks found after mechanical preparation were already found in the samples before the preparation. As we can see here, ProTaper Next, after and before, the crack was already found before preparation. However, it may increase after the preparation. However, it was already found before the preparation, before the mechanical preparation. So this paper concluded that all microcracks were already found in the samples before mechanical preparation. However, it may increase in size after mechanical preparation. Effective reciprocation file motion on microcracks. ProTaper were associated with significantly more microcracks than ProTaper hand files and wave one. So this paper talking about that in all files, also all rotary files in both reciprocation rotation produce microcracks or increase the microcracks. However, the reciprocation motion is much more popular and produce less microcrack formation propagation than full rotation files. Okay. Incidence of apical root cracks and apical dentinal detachment. It was found that rotary instruments cause more dentinal defects than hand instruments, as we all know. Okay, so this one was great one with a great paper, dentinal microcracks after root canal preparation, comparative evaluation. It concluded that least cracks were seen in canal instruments with ProTaper Next, both in rotary and reciprocation motion, maybe due to the snake-like movement of the files. Okay. Inference of glide paths on dentinal crack formation also concluded that the creation of glide path was with ProGlider before ProTaper Next did not influence dentinal crack formation in root canals. So even glide path, the file of the glide path, like ProGlider, produced some sort of crack propagation. Again, those are some studies. Okay, and these are samples stained showing some micro cracks. This is before and after preparation, and showing that micro cracks were already found in the samples before preparation, but it may be increased in size after mechanical preparation. Also some photos showing before and after. Here, some photos shows before and after preparations. Again, some micro cracks before and after preparation. It's a very important issue that the file we're using produced, actually it decreases the strength of the file. That's why all the new techniques recommending we are using smaller taper files. Taper 4 is more than enough for preparing the root canal system, because taper 6 and taper 8 produce more micro crack propagation and formation. So many important questions regarding this topic. Will root dentinal defects like ridge lines and microcracks actually develop into vertical root fracture? This is a very important question because microcracks may propagate after root canal treatment and after obturation, post-encore preparation. Either after post-space preparation, the microcrack propagation may increase and result in vertical root fracture and extraction of the tooth. What are the circumstances in which such root defects will develop into vertical root fracture? So whether the tooth is an occlusion or having high spots, so maybe which set of root canal treatment procedures that is least harmful to dentine, and so what is the safest preparation techniques? Those are unsolved questions, but according to literature, we are recommending nowadays that we are using files with less taper, which is 4% is fair enough, because greater taper files produce more crack propagation, removing more dentine and lessen the strength of the tooth. So hand files reported less dentine damage compared to machine files. SAP significantly less damaging than other files. However, various mechanical machine nickel titanium show different degrees of damage to the root canal. Okay, so some golden rules of successfully NiTi root canal preparation. Just to know, it's all about knowledge. Definitely knowledge is the first golden rule that we have to put in mind. Creating glide path with file 10 manual file and straight line access SLA is very important. Using frown down technique, definitely either reducing the degree of the curvature during root canal preparation, or if it's openers, light touch, do not ever push the file apically in a pricking motion and do not hurry in instrumentation. Replacing files as soon as possible, examining the file regularly, and using the file in a fluid environment with sodium hypochlorite and lubricant like Edita, and avoid keeping the file in one spot, and practice. Thank you. So, any questions?
Thank you, Dr.
Hello?
Mahmood. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Any questions?
Dr. Mahmood, can you please drop your mail ID in the chat session?
Drop where? What?
Drop your mail ID in the chat session, Doctor.
Okay, definitely I will.
Okay, so that everyone can reach out to you if they have any queries.
Any questions, please?
Okay, hope there are no questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Mahmood.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next presentation.
Okay, hold on a second. I want to open it. Hold on a second, please.
Yes.